President Biden is expected to host European Union leaders at the White House today, with the conflicts in the Middle East and Ukraine likely to be on that agenda. In a primetime address just last night, the president said that Hamas and Russian President Vladimir Putin both want to annihilate neighboring democracies. He called for billions of dollars in aid for Israel and Ukraine and also denounced hate in all forms. CBS News correspondent Ian Lee has more from Tel Aviv.
We're facing an inflection point in history.
Sitting in the Oval Office, President Biden made the case for his $100 billion funding request to Congress, which would include support for Israel and Ukraine.
It's a smart investment that's going to pay dividends for American security for generations.
The president said he doesn't want to see U.S. troops fighting in either conflict zone. Hours before his address, a U.S. Navy ship intercepted missiles and drones launched by Houthi rebels in Yemen that were potentially headed to Israel.
It is our aim to avoid any regional expansion of Israel's conflict with Hamas, but we stand ready and prepared to protect and defend our partners and our interests.
President Biden pledged to give $100 million in humanitarian aid to Palestinian civilians. During his trip here this week, he struck a deal to move trucks filled with aid from Egypt to Gaza. Hundreds of thousands of displaced Palestinians are now in desperate need of water, food, and fuel. She says all she wants is a truce so she can go home. While visiting his troops, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared his nation will win with full force. The conflict there has ignited tensions globally and in the U.S.
Here in the United States, a little boy who just turned 6 years old was murdered. His name was Wadiha.
Last night, President Biden evoked the name of the Palestinian-American boy who was stabbed to death near Chicago in his pleas to reject hate. The president later held a phone call with the child's father and uncle. Ian Lee, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
Since the war broke out in the Middle East, a Minnesota man has been working tirelessly to bring Americans home. Aswar Rahman is his name. He flew to Israel the day after Hamas, the terrorist attacks. He spent more than a week in Israel's airport directing stranded Americans to escape, an option in Jordan that he helped set up through his humanitarian organization. He says he's lost count of how many people have used his information.
A lot of people feel abandoned, and a lot of people have been literally abandoned in that situation. So we're trying to make sure that no one has that feeling, and we need to make sure that everyone knows that if you need help getting home from Israel, whether it's now, whether it's a few days from now, a week or a month from now, there are people here to help. I'm one of them.
If someone you know is having trouble leaving Israel, we have information on our website, WCCO, on how to help them get out, WCCO.com.